Hello everyone. Good afternoon. Thank you for joining our today's masterclass, which is for reimagining your customer KYC processes. Okay, in a very fast, compliant, and no code. We are waiting for a couple of minutes so that all the people can join and can take the full opportunity of this masterclass. So we will join. We will start our session in a minute. So do stay tuned for this interesting session. Again, thank you for the new joiners. We are starting in a minute. So thank you again for joining our masterclass of today, which is for reimagining your customer KYC journeys and making them fast, compliant, and helping you to get that with a no-code experience. So we have lots of interesting stuff, lined up for you guys. So just some seconds before we can start this interesting session. So do stay on the line. Yeah. Good afternoon, everyone. So let's kickstart our session. First of all, again, thank you. Thank you for joining our masterclass session for reimagining customers KYC. Now we all know that for all businesses, how important is for us to onboard our customers. It's the primary aspect which any business should ace. Okay, because customers are what bring in revenue, and when you have lots of alternatives for your service offerings, that is your competitors, and they are trying to net a customer before you, having an efficient KYC onboarding mechanism for your services is of a paramount importance. Many of the businesses have been successful to get it digitalized, but now it's time to get it to a second, to a second level where your journey should be fast, should be compliant, should not drop, okay, and should also be fast in execution. That is, it should be no code and you should have a lot of support so that you can ace your journey creation and execution process. In turn, it gives you a lot of benefits, not only for your employees, but also for your customers, because it gives them a good experience. They can access your services faster, better, and in turn you can get more revenue and good customer reviews. Now, in order to achieve all of this and assure the next, you can say the next wave of digital onboarding in your organizations, we have something lined up for you. So let me introduce you to one person who is working day in and day out to help organizations assure the next wave of digital onboarding. So I invite Mr. Ashish Garg. So Ashish ji, over to you. Ashish is a, just to give you a brief introduction, Ashish is our product owner for ID verification APIs and our Rise with Protean ID verification API platform. So without further ado, Ashish ji, over to you.
Thanks, Rohan. Good afternoon, everyone. I am Ashish. I am part of Protein product team. So, like Rohan mentioned that we have services where Rohan has mentioned, we are into providing the core services which is required into day-to-day, digital onboarding of a customer. So be it is a PAN verification where, if the user is providing it's a PAN, so the PAN can be verified with, Protean PAN verification API. So as a Protean, what we support is that, not only just, the individual, but the businesses, professional, all verification services are being offered through Protean. So as a completing almost 28 years and plus the Protean. So Protean core services are into providing the PAN verification services, Aadhaar verification services, and initially we started with the enrollment as well for the Aadhaar. And then we have the GST verification services, NPS, which is National Pension Scheme. So these are the some of the core pillar services that we offer. And on top of that, we have a services where we have seen traction in terms of day-to-day digital onboarding journey. So what we have seen that there was one era where most of the onboarding or we used to go to the branches or the company outlet where we can onboard, we can get ourselves on board through physical form filling. And I used to remember where every page we used to do a counter sign so that if tomorrow there is some correction need to be done, so the counter sign is already available. So those were the days where even the account opening generally takes like 7 to 15 days. And then even also after that we come to know that some discrepancy is there. So there was a lot of dependency upon that how and when the account will get open in this current age of digital era, where we have seen that the digital onboarding is happening within a few clicks, or I would say that 5 to 6 minute journey, where user is even well aware about that what is the action which is happening, what are the detail which he need to enter correctly. So everything can be digitized or can be monitored on the real time basis. So this has given us a ease of getting aware, or aware that what is happening next. So which was earlier likely dependent upon when the communication will come, and whether we have missed that call or email or any letter communication. But now in this current digital era, on the application itself, while you are applying for any digital services, you can know that where is your application status with the application tracking. Then the ID which is created, you can verify on a real time basis. So in continuation of that, just to add, as of now, Protein has since inception has performed 10 billion plus online PAN verification. As we know, for any digital onboarding journey, the PAN verification service is mandatory, which is required. In absence of PAN, people submit the Form 60, but wherever the PAN is there, it has to be validated. So supported by ITD, and their Protein act as a facilitator for the online PAN verification services, where any user can, business entity basis seeking the consent of the customer, they can verify the PAN which is provided by the customer. So there we have performed almost 10 billion plus transactions so far. And we also enrolled almost 9.9 million plus citizen for Aadhaar card creation. And so far we have also performed 260 billion plus Aadhaar eKYC and authentication transaction. And we also provide the e-sign services, where Protein is also regulated by a CCA, which is, Controller of Certifying Authority, where Protean is authorized to issue Aadhaar verification based e-signature. So there we have performed almost 460 million plus transaction where any journey which required digital signature or execution, the e-sign API is the one-stop solution where you can just digitally sign the document rather than getting into a physical mode of signing. Additionally, we have also completed 3 million plus CKYC records as per the RBI mandate. Every entity who is regulated entity into a financial sector, they need to report the customer once they are onboarded to the CERSAI, which is centralized repository for KYC records. So there, not only in the onboarding, but after onboarding, you need to push the data on the registry, right? So there we support our solution for the update part as well. So this is about the current services that we support, and we are so far we have seen we are able to manage perform a good number of transactions to support the businesses for their day-to-day activity. So, just to mention that, what are the challenges which is currently or, is present that, we are targeting to, solve. So as of now, we have seen that, for performing a particular, validation, it requires a lot of APIs also, even though we have moved to the digitization, but still there is a need of orchestration on top of those APIs. So when I see a orchestration, so for example, as of now, let's say you wanted to verify the name of the user and the let's say mobile number of the user. So you have to call two separate API, and then you are dependent upon number of APIs in the entire journey. So what the challenge which is present currently in the market is that in a typical journey there are 10 plus API which is being consumed. So even if from the client perspective you have to call 10 different API, then the journey will be getting completed. So there, what as a Protean we facilitate is that we orchestrate those APIs. So for example, if you wanted to validate bank account, so bank account with the name match also. So we have the advanced APIs where we have collaborated two APIs. One is the name match, another is a bank account verification. So there in the single API, you can pass the name which is present at your end and the name which is coming from the verification of the bank account. Then basis that we can do a scoring that name is matching or not, and we can set up a parsing threshold as well. So that basically helps at your end rather than you calling the two API, that you need to only just call a single API, and rest matching, validation, and fetching the detail can be managed through the Protean platform. And also, we have seen that, when I say that the limited ready to use workflow, so in the market, what happened that, or in the ecosystem or industry, I would say, we have seen that, there's a requirement that, if we can create a workflow. So, for example, if you need to sign a document, so signing a document required a certain number of steps which include who will be signing, who all will be signing, where the signature will be placed, and who will sign first, who will sign second, or both will get the link, or the SMS intimation is required. So all those nitty gritty which is required. So one way is that you pass each and every step, and second is that there is an API which is available which assists this entire workflow, where as an input you can pass this all the parameter, and at the back end, system will take care that what all microservices need to be called. So there we have solution ready where we can provide a ready to use APIs to support the workflow, where rather than you calling the 15 or 20 APIs to complete an entire end-to-end journey, this can be one point of a single API which can complete your entire end-to-end document signing journey. So this is just one of the example. And currently, what we have seen that, in a single journey, there's a lot of dependency in terms of multiple vendors. So, for example, one service provider you have onboarded for, the bank account verification. Another you have onboarded for email verification, right? So currently in a journey itself, you are managing 7 to 8 service provider, or let's say two or three service provider. So one is that you have to deal in case of any discrepancies coming with all the three service provider. Secondly, from the internal compliance perspective also, it is difficult to manage all these service providers because every service provider need to be audited based on the internal company policy, right? So if we are having a multiple service provider, then multiple audit has to be done, and if there is any observation, all those has to be closed, right? So that is a bigger problem area I would say is present in the market, right? Then let's say what happened that generally as we all have observed that while we are getting into a API collaboration, right? So mostly what happened that the counter person share that API documentation, that this is a document that you need to integrate. So but before getting into that, it is always good that to get a feel that what we are, how that input will be passed and what will be the output that will be received. So sandbox environment is nothing but a prototype of integration which can facilitate that to give a comfort that if you pass this dynamic data, this will be the output that you are getting. So this will give you more confidence in terms of that yes, this is the API which I need to integrate, and then that can be move ahead, right? Then there is another challenge when you deal with, multiple APIs. So transaction and billing monitoring is also a quite challenge in currently, where you are dependent upon multiple service provider that, all are providing you a different form and format of, transaction, and the billing is happening with the multiple service provider. So this is another, I would say a cumbersome process where, we have to spend lot in terms of time and then resource, in terms of monitoring that, to monitor this transaction and billing mechanism. And then we have also seen that, in the industry that there's another challenge, which is that, let's say if somebody is having .NET format, another is having Java, language support. So having a stringent, API support, a language support, it is difficult for, coordinating or integrating between two different applications. And then inadequate multiple language support. So for example, in terms of language, how many Python is there, C++ is there, so how many languages is being supported. So all these we have seen that is quite challenges which are present in the market. So while we'll take you through our solution that we have, which overcome or fulfill these pain area, and which can facilitate to empower the existing journey that you have. So we have a platform which is Rise with Protean. It's a multi-sectoral API marketplace that we have created from a developer perspective. So for example, as of now, what happened that in the market mostly that people share their API document and everything happen over the mail. So there is no visibility in terms of what you are getting into, what is how you can track it once you start the journey. So on the Rise platform, while we were designing this platform, we focused on the developer-friendly, UI UX experience, so that whenever anybody is getting into a agreement with Protean, they have the complete visibility in terms of what API they are integrating, where from where they can download the API documentation. Because generally, what happen within an organization when we integrate or have a multiple channels, right? It happened that sometimes it is people are not even aware that particular service provider has multiple services, because at the service provider end also there is no front end available which has all the API which is listed. So sometimes people earlier used to say that we were not aware that Protein has X service or Y service. So we come up with an idea that there should be a one interface, uniform interface, where all the services should have the outbound services. So for example, anybody wish to have any services from Protein, they can just visit the Rise platform. They can have the single mode of integration or encryption decryption logic to integrate any API they wish to consume. So to keep that in mind, we have created Rise with Protein platform, to assist, any integration or any add-on API that you're looking at. So basically, just to give you an example, that the services that we support is that, for example, you wanted to, have the eKYC services, then the authentication services you can consume through, Protean. Then we have the e-sign services around, digital document execution that you wish to do. Then we have a digital documentation workflow API. So for example, which include your stamping, digital stamping, and your entire workflow orchestration. ID verification API suite is basically DL, voter, passport, or any individual businesses or professional verification that you wish to do, right? That can be catered to. And while we integrate these API, we have a column called the consent, where since we will be integrating with all the organizations, so we also check whether they are taking the consent from the customer, yes or no. So if the customer or the business is passing that the consent is sought as from the end customer, it is marked in our system as a from the audit trail purpose as well. So these are some of that services that we have on the RISE platform, which can be integrated in any of the journey that you have. So, just to give you a brief that what additional or this feature that we are solving through our Rise with Rise with Protein platform. So basically, if you see that comparing with other service provider which is prevailing in the market, right? So one I would say that orchestration API, like I mentioned that on the Rise platform we have multiple APIs. So for example, what we propose that for example, you are currently dealing with 5 or 6 service provider. So Protean can play a role of preferred service provider, where let's say we are having as of now 133 36 plus APIs available on Rise with Protean. So in case if there is additional requirement, basis your new use case or any requirement, what we can do, we can integrate that API on the Rise with platform, Rise with Protean platform, and that can be integrated to your platform. So that will serve two purpose. One is you do not require to onboard any new partner. We will facilitate that API through us. Secondly, you will not require to manage multiple service provider, because for you it will be onboarding once Protein is onboarded, right? So then it is an add-on, commercial agreement that need to be closed, because Protein is already onboarded as a service provider. So there we can orchestrate all those API so that your minimum steps can be provided to verify. So for example, if you wanted to verify a physical copy converted digital copy of the passport, right? So what happened? You need to call two different API. One is the OCR API, and then second is the passport verification. So in that case, what can be done is that Protein support that orchestrated API, which is advanced passport OCR API. So where what you can do, you can just pass the scan copy. Further, Protein API will take care of the OCR part, and basis that OCR, the result which is fetched, it will be verified through passport verification API. So a single call will give you the end result that we are looking at. And then we have the ready to use workflow pre-built, like eSign Pro is a journey that we have created where you can complete your end-to-end digital document execution. And then we have the bank statement analyzer journey. So those are the pre-built use cases that we have already built. And if there is any custom requirement which is there, so our system has a capability where we can provide those APIs. So for example, there is an API which require to call two different APIs, right? So that is also orchestrated at our level, and we have created a workflow around it. Then we also support that sandbox capability. So in the sandbox, what happened that we have a sandbox environment created in the user login itself. So once you will sign up on the Protean environment portal, basis that business discussion with your team, we will create a sandbox environment where with the dynamic data. Let's say you wanted to verify the bank account, you can mention the bank account and you can verify and test at your end that what you're getting into. So that sandbox feasibility is available to test or with the real data rather than having just more of a API driven sample request and response. So you can test with the real data. Then we support the multiple language. So we have nine plus API support for the integration that can be integrated basis that the communication received from your side. Then in our solution, what we have done, we have kept it scalable. So generally in the physical mode of infra, what happened that physical server has a capability or a capacity to which the API hit can be managed. So we have kept the entire solution on the cloud, which is properly audited and compliant, where based on the requirement, the capacity can be scaled. So that in case there is a sudden peak in the Jan, Feb, March, right? So rather than the system start failing, we have the scalability where the system can scale to support the increased demand during that the peak season as well. Then we have a unified dashboard where on the dashboard you can see all the reports, the app which you have created, API that you have consumed, the keys which is required for the authentication purpose. Everything can be tracked. And let's say if you wanted to explore other APIs as well, which is available on RISE with Protean, that can be also explored. You can see that sample request response you can do in sandbox testing, and additionally you can download the MIS as well for your reconciliation purpose. And then we also have a multi-sectoral API, not just for I would say for single like banking, but for banking, healthcare, insurance, broking, we support all these sector basis their use case present. So we support multi-sector API, which is through RISE with the Protean platform. Then we have OpenKit and code sample, which is GitHub, developer enablement that we have. And we have the proprietary API as well, like, PAN is there, your, Aadhaar verification is there, your eSign is there, eSign Pro APIs are there, where, Protein itself is a source in terms of, regulated by the regulator to perform or provide those API. So these are some of the, key features that you will be able to find on the Protein with RISE, and you can empower your existing journey which required integration or digital verification. So in the business verification suite, we have like the business and commercial verification. So there we have listed few APIs, but you can go through you can visit our Rise with Protein platform where you can see all those APIs that we have. So I'm just calling out few key APIs that we have. IEC is there, which is export, import, MCA signatory verification, ODM registration, company ensign lookup, FDA license, FSI, legal entity, which is LEI, GST, and shop establishment data. So this is available, right? In the individual and retail verification, we support bank account verification, driving license, voter, passport, UPI, Aadhaar, and farmer registration. So these are the some of the API that we suggest, support, like, voter ID, utility, KRA, KYC status. So these are the API that which is available. On the asset verification front, we have mobile detail fetch, email auth, mobile authentication, property tax, silent mobile verification, vehicle RC data. And on the employment verification, we support EPFO, UPN lookup, EPFO, UN validation. On the professional side, we have a professional membership verification, ICI membership verification, company secretary verification, cost and work accountant verification, NMC verification. Those are there. And on top of that, we have, technical, capability APIs as well, which is more based on the AI and OCR based verification. So like, one is the address that you are passing and another address that we are getting from the verification. So we have the mechanism to, match the address and give the score. We have the mechanism to split the, address if you wanted to split that. Face match score, name similarity, face liveliness, check OCR, so that it can be converted into a digital input form, right? Then KYC, OCR plus, which include all sort of, the KYC document verification. So these are some of the, mostly commonly used, I would say, API verification suite, which generally used by BFSI segment, I would say. So in the onboarding, customer onboarding process, so there can be a multiple, use cases, which can be insurance underwriting, account opening, personal lending, auto loans, home loan, SME lending, cards. So there can be many cases. These are the few of the most commonly used use cases we have listed. So where, let's say, if you wish to do the KYC, so where you need to authenticate the OVD, confirm the document position, verify the face liveness, cross-check ID with the common database. So we have the certain API which is like data extraction, which is nothing but a OCR functionality where you can do the OCR of the document to extract the data. Then in the digital, it is we have seen in the past that there is more many frauds are happening where somebody asks you the OTP and they complete the eKYC. But there's one way where we can capture the face of the user as well, which can be again matched with the face which is coming from the KYC record, right? To make sure that if the same person is giving the OTP or other person has take over the detail of the actual user. So with the face match that can be established. Fraud detection in terms of early warning signal, which is like email, whether it is a disposable email or whether it is a created for a temporary purpose, it is a blacklisted or blocked. All those information can be given as a fraud detection as a early warning signal. Then we can verify these document, which is KYC, like Aadhaar with the UIDAI, then passport, voter, DL. These can be verified from the particular sources which is available. Then we also support the businesses verification as well, which is like their address verification, their financial status. So, for example, in the business verification, Udyam and Udyam is available. GST verification is there. AML check, you can check that if there's any through MCA, if some director or some other details are not proper of the customer that you are onboarding, so that can be verified. Their bank account detail can be verified, what detail they are providing in terms of for the disbursement, that can be validated. Then fraud check, where you can verify the business details from the government sources, analyze the bank statement, GST, financial history of the individual, bank account verification. So where these are certain APIs available. So most commonly used are forgery check if the documents are tampered. Advanced forgery, you can just check that if that document is proper, and then through the source the details are matching or not, so that can be done. Then liveness check if the person who's actually present or the photo is being used, so that can be checked. And then the GST API is there, bank account verification APIs are there. So all those information can be used for the fraud check. Then for the lending use case, there are certain details which is there like alternate data check, AML check, email and domain verification. So which can be used for credit score check, geolocation, whether the customer is present in that location or sourcing or opening that account from location which is blacklisted as a part of internal compliance. Then risk checks are there. So category of points are there which can be checked in the risk score. So in the geolocation, is basically capturing the location of the user. So for example, in the geolocation, let's say if I'm applying for a loan, right? And while applying, there's a restriction that, there's a negative list countries from where you cannot apply, right? And where the mostly like businesses, block that user. So with that geolocation API, that can be done. Secondly, while executing a digital document execution, right? So it is required to capture, in some of the cases, we capture the location as well. So for example, if I have paid the stamp duty in the Maharashtra, I wish to have that, the customer is also present in Maharashtra. So with the geolocation, you can capture that location of the user as well, whether he's on, executing agreement from like Kerala or from, out of India. So that can be verified and, business logic can be built to reject that. So all those purpose, just geolocation check is being used. So this is our platform Rise with Protean. So basically, I'll just quickly take you through, without taking much of your time. So once you have logged into this system, you will be able to see this screen where in the API product, you can see all the listed product which is there in terms of eSign Pro, DigiLocker, then bank statement analyzer, eSign Pro digital stamping, and mobile verification with OTP, bank account verification. So all those API can be seen from this platform itself. So you can just click on any API from the product suite. So where you can see that what is the request and response which is there. You can just see from this particular tab. So in the request, if you see that these will be the detail that you will be passing, which is this is the concern request ID which is generated. And if I click on run, so for particular API, you can just see that response as well, that what is the response that you will be getting. So this is the outcome which will be received. So which is like, address, email, null, contact number. So all those details, SIM detail, device detail, history that can be received. So while consuming the API, you can just see and go through this detail as well that you will be getting through consuming this particular document. So now coming back to the the platform. So on this, if you go on the API catalog, you can just see that about the particular product as well, that what purpose it is being used. So if you click on the verify document, let's say any API, so that is part of DigiLocker product, right? So you can see that what is a DigiLocker, what you can do with this product. That can be you can just go through. Then you can see that integration guide, which is the API document, which is already available on our platform, where you can see that purpose of the document, introduction of the API, error code, everything can be tracked from here. What are the UAT endpoints, production endpoints? So all those detail is available. The sample response code in the plain text, and as well as the encrypted and decrypted responses are also available. Then you can see that request response that we just saw, that for particular API. So for example, out of in the DigiLocker, the multiple APIs are there, right? So you can see all their request and response, that what are the sample request and response are there, so that can be tracked from the platform. Then we have a live sandbox, where for example, if I wanted to test a particular data on the live basis, right? So let's say I'll check with IFSC detail, right? So in the IFSC, let's say I'll mention my IFSC detail, and I click on run. So I think there is a credit which is exhausted, but with this I can just on the real time basis, I can just test that dynamic data as well. That what particular the response I will be getting. So that can be tracked here. So now, for example, if you have you are satisfied with the the details which is available, so then you can get started with the the app creation which is required to start the UAT. So for example, I will go to the My Apps, and on this I can create a new app where you need to provide all those detail in terms of IP address, SSL certificate for the encryption and decryption, then IP address to make sure the request is coming from the authentic sources. The app name, you can define any app name for the identification. You can select the API that you wanted to consume. So basis that, once it is done, we will internally verify, validate, and then we can proceed with the API, UAT access enablement. And once that particular app is tested and you will submit a transaction log, we will move this to the live environment. So as of now, there is no app created, hence you are not able to see. Otherwise, the same app which is created in UAT, you will be able to move to the production. So this is basically about the platform that we have. So, in the journey of last, 28 years of, Protean, so we have, esteemed clients that we have, so which is like, Axis Bank, Yes Bank, Bajaj, Bajaj Alliance, SDFC, DCP. So we are serving, 2,500 plus corporates so far, with our Aadhaar, PAN, e-sign and other services. So where we are proudly able to serve the customer better, and we are improving on a day-to-day basis to provide our advanced or enhanced API suite as well, so that we can empower the existing use cases and the new use cases which the organization is working. Thank you, everyone, for your time and patience. And do let us know if you have any query. And while I can see that in the chat box we have query which is raised by the participant. We'll share the response over that. And yeah. So in the I have seen that one query that I have question on the PAN verification API. Currently, Protein response only include if the name and DOB matches or not, and the correct name or DOB is not shared. So this is in line of the regulatory changes. So initially, what used to happen, there was a mechanism that all the information are provided in the response, but considering that the data privacy, it the response changes into yes and no. So that is because of regulatory changes. We are following the practice. So there are another question is there are many fake GPS sites where geolocation can be manipulated. How this can be avoided? So while the geolocation can be one of the option, you can couple this with any other validation as well. So for example, one is that the geolocation that you are capturing, and then you can make sure that that IP address is also correct. And secondly, you can build uh, logic where you can see that if there is any routing is happening at the back end of the actual GPS location, so the bot can identify those pattern and it can notify. So although there still can be chances, but that can be coupled with other validation as well. So where we are making sure that if 90-95% the location accuracy is there, and 1 or 2% chances are still there that it can be false. So then it can be merged with IP verification, system verification, the browser and other details to make sure that we are making sure that other validation also we are building with the same. So there it can be bundled and verified. So, Mr. Gaurav has raised that, for completing the KYC requirement as per the regulatory RBI guideline, what digital solution do you have if the ticket amount 70K. So basically, in this case, what happens that, on the KYC, RBI has mentioned that, the KYC has to be performed basis that, the due diligence mechanism which is defined. So there are multiple mode of KYCs available, which is like, the Aadhaar, eKYC, you can perform DigiLocker based KYC you can do. Then video KYC can be done. Then the DL voter passport verification can be done, supported by the VKYC, and then CKYC based information fetch can be done from the CERSAI. So there are multiple mechanism available to complete that the KYC of the customer, and irrespective of the ticket size, because uh, the ticket size is something which is organization need to define that what level of KYC is to be done and in what frequency, whether they will consider as a high risk, low risk or medium risk. So in a high risk customer, every year you need to do a re-KYC. If it is a medium risk customer, 5 to 7 years you have to do. If it is a low risk customer, then within a 10 years, after 10 years, you need to do the re-KYC, right? So important is that, the customer is falling under which category, and basis that what mode of KYC you are choosing. So if I would say, if you find that, it's a high risk customer, so directly, rather than having a voter and DL based verification, you can do a VKYC of the customer, video KYC of the customer, where you're making sure that there's a organization and customer are interacting through the digital medium, and they are verifying the customer they are onboarding. So that can be supported. Yes. So on the PAN verification that you have raised, so basically on the PAN verification, basically, as of now, the solution possible is as per the permitted API specification, which is allowed by the ITD. So there, since you already have the information which you are passing through the API, we can verify through ITD that yes, this information is matching, yes or no. So that is the only check available in the PAN verification. But there is other APIs also to support along with the PAN verification, where you can do a face verification and bank account verification, other verification in terms of mobile verification, email verification to support the verification process. Yeah, so Mr. Gaurav has mentioned for the 60K amount, VKYC is mandatory. So I like I said that this customer must be falling under the high risk category. Hence, there we can support the VKYC as a product. So it is basis that organization is falling under which regulator, whether it is SEBI, whether it is a IRDA, and whether it is a RBI, basis the circulation which is there and the permits which is available in terms of the due diligence. We can support those APIs. So they can we go for the eKYC there. So Mr. Gaurav, the point is that we can facilitate with the KYC methods, but whether it has to be done through VKYC or eKYC, that is your compliance. So you have to tell us that it is allowed, and then we can support it with that. So thanks everyone for your time. So I have with me Rohan. So Rohan, over to you.
So thank you, Ashish, for the wonderful session. We can see a lot of queries we have received in the Q&A chat as well. So we'll take them up. As we are nearing the ending, we have already exceeded the masterclass slot. So no, we will be taking them up offline. But if you have any other queries, you can reach out to us at talk to us at proteintech.in, or you can you can directly mention in the meeting chat demo. We will reach out to you on priority. So again, thank you everyone for joining our session for today. We will be coming up with more exciting such sessions in the next month. This is not only for ID verification APIs, but also for CKYC, regulated APIs, e-signing solution, all of the stack we are coming up by next month. So again, thank you for joining our session. We will be meeting you soon. Thank you.